Hello, my friends. This is the first lesson for our snowflake project that we are about to start. We have read the story Snow, or maybe you listened to it from the YouTube video. And so now we're going to practice making snowflakes before we start our real painting. It's very important that we practice first. I'm going to show you 4 different ways you can make a snowflake. But the fun thing is, there's millions of different ways you could draw a snowflake because all snowflakes are different. I'm going to give you 4, but you can invent some of your own. In the story, we learned that snowflakes have 6 sides. So to start drawing a snowflake, it's easiest to start with an X. Now, that X, that only gives us 4 points. So I'm going to draw a line through the middle of the X. Mine is going horizontal, which is sideways, but maybe yours goes up and down. You can choose where to put that last line. But that now gives us 4, 5, 6. That gives us 6 points now. So this is your first snowflake. It's very simple, a nice simple snowflake. So it's a good, easy one to start with. So that's our first one we're going to try. The second snowflake is going to start exactly the same. So draw an X and then put a line through it. It can be sideways or up and down. But now let's make this one a little fancier. Let's decorate this snowflake. I'm going to start by making little circles on the lines of the snowflake. I like to put one on the end and then a couple along the inside of the line also. There is snowflake number 2. So I like this one a little better because it looks a little fancier. Snowflakes aren't just, when you see pictures of them, they don't look like this. But if you look at a snowflake under a microscope, or if you try to catch one on a black piece of paper, you can see all the designs and details on those ice crystals. All right, let's do snowflake number 3. Again, we're always going to start with that X and a line through it. It's a nice, easy way to give us a 6-pointed snowflake. There are other ways to do it, but for this project, we're going to try and keep it nice and simple, and we'll just change the details we add. So for this one, I'm going to add short diagonal lines, like little tiny arms coming off of each point. So I have 3 on there. This one might be a little tricky for some of you, so take your time. Just short little lines that come out. Mine are diagonal, they're a little crooked. If yours comes out straight, that's okay. And then I'm just going to the other side, and I'm adding short lines on the other side. It might be easier for you if you turn your paper so that you're always drawing your lines the same way. So I can turn my paper so that my line is always facing up. But if you want to keep your paper in one place and just move your hand around, that's okay too. Whatever works for you. So this one you might need a little bit more practice. And some of you might get it on your first try, which is awesome. Short little lines, like little arms or little fingers sticking out. That's what I like to say it looks like. This one is my favorite one because it has the most details. And you can add as many or as little of these little arms as you want. Okay, now snowflake number 4. I start, again, the same way, my X with a line through it. And then my son Joey likes to say it looks like a spider web because then I start making circles on top that kind of grow and get bigger as I move towards the edge. So you might fit only 2 circles. You might be able to fit 3 or 4. Everyone's going to be different. I like to keep it so that my lines of the snowflake stick out a little farther. And then for fun, we can all do this different. You can go through and you can add any of those details on from any of the other snowflakes that you might want to try. Or maybe you can do a little bit of both. You could mix and match. Whatever you want. So this last one is kind of a cool mix of other ones with the detail of the circles. Or maybe you can just do the circles and leave it. So this 4th one I want you to have some fun with and kind of invent your own. And then if you like that, you can invent snowflake number 5 and 6 and 7 and make as many as you want. So there is step 1 of this project, which is making and practicing some snowflakes. In class, we're going to follow this practice session with trying to make a little blizzard. We're taking blue paper and we're filling it up with all sorts of different snowflakes designs. You can see I kind of invented a few more here, and this is your chance to experiment and make whatever kind of snowflakes you want. Then we will get to start our painting, which is in the next video. All right, my friends, today is the day we are going to learn how to do our snowflake painting. So you can see that I have drawn out the snowflakes, and there's lots of different ways. I have one big one, and then I have a couple smaller ones. You can make yours however you want. And we're using lots of different materials for this project. We have our painting paper. Ooh, I have my messy paper underneath to keep my table clean. You're going to choose a cool color for the outline of your snowflake. So the choices I have here are purple, blue, or black. You might have some other colors, but I'm going to do this with a colored pencil. We are using oil pastels. That is going to do the magic trick of pushing away my paint so that my snowflakes have a white outline to them. And then we're using watercolor paints. But we're not going to use every color. We're going to stick with just cold colors so it looks like a winter sky. So we're not really going to use any of these warm, bright colors. We're going to stick down here to our cooler colors. So the first step of my project is I'm going to pick which cool color I'm going to use. I think I'll choose purple today. And then I'm going to draw some snowflakes. I don't want to make them too tiny because my oil pastel crayon is a little thicker and it's going to be tricky to outline a really tiny one. But you can go ahead, and that's where I want you to have some fun and make your choices and draw your snowflakes however and wherever you want on the paper. That's the fun thing about art, is we have these choices. I like to make it like little V's. This is my favorite kind of snowflake, is the ones that has these lines. But remember, you can mix and match from all the ones we practiced before. You don't have to stick with only these ones I showed you. You can pick a combination or invent your own. I don't want my paper to get too full, because I want to make sure the snowflakes I draw really stand out and look special. And sometimes when you add too many things, it gets a little busy looking. The ones that I do make smaller, I'm going to keep those really simple and not add the details on. Okay, I think that's where I'll stop because it's nice and balanced and nothing's too crowded. So now, this is what I'm going to go through with my oil pastel. And I'm just going to try and trace the details. Now it is going to make this look a little sloppy, but that's okay. We're still going to see the lines. But you do want to make sure that you trace every line you made. So you really have to pay attention to what you're doing. Maybe do all the lines first and then the details. However you want to do it. But you got to make sure you're paying attention so you don't miss any spots. And you might feel like it's too tricky to trace all the details. So just do your best. I think it's going to help make the snowflakes look special when they have these little spots that don't quite follow. So this is where you just have to trust and enjoy doing it. And if it doesn't turn out the way you imagined, oh well, seashell. It might come out even better. But you can see just from watching this video how tricky it is for me to trace these little details, which is why you don't want to make your snowflakes too tiny or have too many details on them. I like when I get to see how it comes out because I can't quite see how it looks right now. So I think I got it all. And now I get to do the fun part, which is painting. So I'm going to set my oil pastel aside. Got my water cup. Got my brush. Remember to take Mr. Brush for a swim. I like to give him a couple taps just to make sure he's not going to drip everywhere. And then I'm going to get a little bit of water into my two cool colors. It might help me remember which ones I'm supposed to be sticking with, red and blue. And it helps get the paints ready to paint with, because right now they are, you can see, they're dry. So if you don't add water, they're not going to do anything. So I like to get a little water in them just to get them ready. But then when we do paint, you want to make sure you stir them up real good. So I count to at least 10 and I keep my brush moving that whole time. And that will make my blue really nice and bright, which is good because my white oil pastel will not show up if my blue is too light. So now I can start slipping and sliding my blue paint across the paper. I'm going to switch to my blue, or my purple. Make sure I stir it up because I haven't stirred it up yet. And I can overlap that and mix that with my blue. And I want to do this kind of quick. I don't want to be sloppy, but I do want to fill my paper with the colors kind of quickly because I have one special ingredient at the end that I have not told you about yet. This is something you could add at home. Most people have this, and if you don't need it, but it is something fun to add. I like to switch a lot between my purple and my blue because I like to see how they mix together. Since they're neighbors, they mix together very nicely. Purple is made out of blue, so when you put it next to each other, they can mix together real nice, and it doesn't create any yucky colors in between. Okay, so there we go. I've got my whole paper colored. It's very important that we make sure we take our paint all the way to the edges so that the only thing left white is what we did with our oil pastel. And our last special ingredient is going to be salt. So when I add my salt, I'm going to slowly shake it on. It doesn't happen right away, but I'll move the camera up. What happens is the salt starts to soak into the paint and it sort of pushes the color away, and it's going to leave like a little marks where the salt sat that stay white. So it's going to look like little snowflakes in the background when we're done. So we'll have these big snowflakes that we drew and little snowflake dots left over from the salt. So it's very important that we have our paint still wet. Otherwise, the salt really won't do anything. So you add the salt right away. So I hope you enjoy doing this project. Once the paint is dry, we can wipe the salt away and see the marks that they left behind. Thanks for watching.